Allee, ek dink we are set to go.
Okay, well,
Ja.
let me first begin with an apology, Marius.
Okay.
My internet, as you know, has been playing up today. So I've driven into Hofmeyer and I'm using data on my phone because there's some signal here. So people should please excuse any noise in the background. We'll try to keep it to a minimum. But I'm parked in the hotel parking area. And hopefully we'll be able to have a decent interview.
Ja. En ek bedoel van my kant af ook, ek het mense, vriende wat soos familie is gehelp trek uit die stad uit hier na die Noord-Kaap toe. Was vir my ook 'n rowwe lang naweek, kan mens maar sê. Gisteraand eers laat hier aangekom, maar ek is bly hulle het opgedaag en ek is bly hulle is hierso in die meer veiliger area. En ek sê enige iemand wat dit voor moontlik is en wat dit kan doen op hierdie stadium sal ek aanraai wat dit moet doen, want soos dit vir my lyk, Simon, is dit die dinge is besig om baie vinnig te eskaleer in die wêreld, maar ek glo jy gaan die luisteraars sommer nou daaroor inlig en 'n bietjie daar meer oor vertel.
Yeah, Marius, we won't talk for too long tonight, as you and I discussed. We'll keep it fairly brief. We'll discuss this again on Thursday night. And on Friday, when I do the week in review, I'm going to focus totally on this subject because I think that it warrants it. Right now, at the moment, there are huge tensions in the Middle East. And to give the listeners, viewers, some sense of perspective, all of the major commentators, all of the leading commentators are speaking about a U.S. attack on Iran as if it is a fait accompli. As we speak, the commander of the United States Armed Forces, CENTCOM, in other words, Central Command, the central command of all of the arms of the U.S. military, is meeting with the head of staff of the Israeli Defense Forces in a secret bunker. Why a secret bunker, I don't know, but presumably there's something that warrants it. We've had a leak out of the White House, this was about 12 days ago, that the USA will launch an attack upon Iran.
Okay.
Benjamin Netanyahu said in a question and answer the other day that there shall be a war between Israel and Iran. The USA has sent an extra carrier group to that region. For those people who don't know, an aircraft carrier is accompanied by at least 2 destroyers, 1 or 2 submarines, sometimes more, a number of support vessels, and frigates too. It is an enormous force in terms of firepower.
Sure.
So there will be, from the end of this week, depending upon how you count it, obviously Israel is very close to the Red Sea. It borders on the Eastern Mediterranean. That's Israel. Iran is inland of the northwest Indian Ocean. So there will be approximately in that general vicinity something like 4 or 5 carrier groups. People should bear in mind that all throughout Europe and the Middle East, there are scores and scores of US bases. Air bases would be most relevant to this conversation. And we know about the B-2 Spirit bombers that have been sent to the Chagos Islands in the middle of the Indian Ocean, out of the blue. There were 2 there already. Another 5 were sent. That makes 7, I beg your pardon, of about 30 B-2 Spirit airplanes, the giant bombers that look like a half of a flying saucer.
Yeah.
it looks as if this thing is going to happen. The leak from the White House said that the attack on Iran would occur within 30 to 45 days from the time of the leak, which was about 12 days ago. We know, well, of course, Easter week begins on the 12th of April, and this year it overlaps with Passover, the Jewish Pesach. We know that a number of leading rabbis have forecasted that over the period of this Passover, there will be dramatic events in Israel.
Yeah.
Now, that's a bit of a turn-off to some people. Some people hear such esoteric or mystical things, and that doesn't work for them. Some people want to know about things in the flesh, and that's fine. But I put it to you that every direction in which you look, there is a sign or a signal or a warning or a hint of big, big trouble over the forthcoming period regarding the USA/Israel attacking Iran, or at the very least, the USA attacking Iran on behalf of Israel. And now we kind of come to the point. I don't know if you've got any questions on that introduction, Marius.
Nee Simon, ja, nee, ek het net, wat is dit nou al 2 weke terug het ons mos gehoor, dat by die Passover, soos jy gesê het, gaan daar groot dinge gebeur, of dit nou die red heifers is wat gaan geslag word, of wat ook al, ons het geweet, daar is iets rondom Paasfees, Paasnaweek, Pesach, gaan daar iets gebeur, en ja, dit is definitief nou verwikkel, dat soos jy sê, Amerika lyk my gaan nou intree en gaan offisieel, amper wil ek sê, hulle oorlog begin daar in Iran.
Yes, the ostensible reason is that Iran is building or preparing to build nuclear bombs. And the USA, on behalf of Israel, has drawn a red line over that issue, or underneath that issue, or through that issue, however you want to put it. The majority of the experts whom I've heard speak have said that Iran is not attempting to build a nuclear weapon. These are people who know and understand the subject very well. However, it seems as if Benjamin Netanyahu has convinced Donald Trump and the Trump administration that Iran is preparing a nuclear weapon and that they are promptly going to use it on Israel, and that the USA has some sort of automatic responsibility to defend Israel from existential annihilation. And I know that there are many Suidlanders who are sympathetic to that argument. And that's fine. I'm not sympathetic to it, but we don't have to hate one another. We can sit on opposite sides of the fence and still be civil and wait to see who turns out to be right. All that I'm saying is that the USA appears to be taking on this role of protecting the Jewish state to the last, with everything that it has.
Yeah.
And now we come to the real point. What is the relevance for Suidlanders, and why is it that I feel the need to speak about this tonight? And during our Thursday night interview and my Friday weekend review. Let me begin by saying we're going to talk about many different elements. In those longer form videos, we will discuss in detail the effect that it will have and historical precedents and comparisons and so on. So anybody who listens to or views all 3 of these conversations will not be bored. They'll learn something new from everyone.
Yeah.
This being the shortest, we'll just stick to broad brushstrokes and general overviews. The reason why this is so relevant to Suidlanders and why we're going to pay so much attention to it is because of the manifest material effect that it will have upon ordinary Suidlanders' lives. If it should happen that the USA attack Iran, that will precipitate a massive war in the Middle East. Nobody is suggesting that Iran will be able to withstand a US attack. Nobody's suggesting that Iran will be able to keep up the fight indefinitely or that it might win. But rather, what we are saying is that even if the fight only lasts 6 months or a year, during that time, global energy fuel supplies will be so severely affected that all of us are going to cry long tears. Bearing in mind that although we in South Africa don't depend very much on gas, whether it's gas in gas form or liquefied natural gas as it is sometimes put into a liquid form in order to be transported on tankers, although it's not an enormous feature of South African commercial, industrial, and domestic life, in other parts of the world, when gas supplies are detrimentally affected, people switch to other sources of energy. Not an easy thing to do, but I'm trying to make the point that if global gas and oil supplies are detrimentally affected, people shouldn't only hear the word oil and not hear the word gas. There's a cascade effect or a knock-on effect. About 27% of the world's gas passes through the Straits of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, into the world market, obviously through the Persian Gulf and into the Indian Ocean. And a little bit over 30% of the world's crude oil exports for processing into dieseline and petroleum. It only takes the shutting off of that 27%, 30%, 33% to turn the market on its head. If, for instance, the stockpiles, the volumes of wheat for making bread in South Africa were reduced by 20%, the price of bread wouldn't go up by 5 rand, it would go up by 50 rand.
Yeah.
That's the way that it works. If there's a war in the Middle East and Iran and its proxies go absolutely berserk, attacking, as they've promised that they will do, attacking Qatar and the United Arab Emirates and Bahrain, probably Saudi Arabia, then the interruption to global supply might not be of the order of 25, 27, 30, 33%, but closer to 40 or 45%.
Yeah.
South Africa is in the unfortunate position that it won't be able to turn to the Western Hemisphere. The largest producer of oil, crude oil in the world nowadays is the United States of America. Most people don't know that. And the largest reserves in the world are in the tiny country of Venezuela, on the northeastern bulge of South America. Venezuela is under heavy sanction by the USA, and the USA is not on good terms with South Africa at the moment. If our traditional supplies of fuel and oil and gas from definitely not only, but largely from the Middle East, are interrupted, we're not then going to be able to pick up the phone to the USA and say, we want to become one of your favorite customers overnight.
Yeah.
So we said that we would keep this conversation short. The point being that we are perhaps hours, perhaps days, perhaps weeks, perhaps not at all. But given the science, we are perhaps just a short while away from a massive energy crisis in this country. And it brings to mind a concept that I used to discuss with people in my former profession. I was a project manager for live events. And one of the special features of live events is the safety factor, because you're building temporary structures. It's possible for a tent to collapse. It's possible for a stage to collapse. It's possible for a temporarily installed massive power grid generating more than most small villages in South Africa, for something to go wrong, people to be electrocuted, rain to fall on power cables or generators and so on. And as the projects manager, I was ultimately responsible for that. And I had a bit of a reputation for being a cowboy, as a person, a little bit badly behaved in my former life. And therefore, people tended to be surprised or astonished when I was very strict and rigorous about the safety aspect of these events.
Yeah.
People expected me to be just as much of a cowboy in my profession. And I would explain to them that risk is a function of two things: probability and consequence. If you say to somebody that's risky, are you saying you're not going to get hurt, but there's a very, very good chance that you will slip and fall? Or are you saying there's only a tiny chance that you'll slip, but if you do slip, you're going to break your neck? Or are you saying that it's 50-50?
Yeah.
It's an odd word in English. It's a function of two other concepts. And I used to say to people, we build the best stages. Everything is perfect. The chances of anything going wrong are zero. But if something should go wrong, I'm telling you now, I'm not going to stand in front of a magistrate. So we will double check, and we will triple check, and we will quadruple check. And where the specifications require one nut and one bolt, we will put in 3. And where the specifications require that we should be able to withstand a 70-kilometer-an-hour wind, I promise you that I will not sign this structure off unless the engineer tells me that it can withstand a 120-kilometer-an-hour wind.
Yeah.
So similarly, when we contemplate this potential oil crisis, we're not trying to sow fear and get people to panic and all worked up, hysterical, because we don't know for certain that it's going to happen. But what we're saying is that the probability is no longer negligible. And if it does happen, the consequences will be so great that people will stone us in the streets if they find out that we could have warned them and didn't, that we could see what was coming and we didn't bother to tell them, hey guys, please understand that the nature of the market forces is such that if war breaks out in the Middle East, it will not be a case of petrol going to 40 Rand a litre.
Oh.
It will go in theory to 400 Rand a litre within a week, but you will not be able to buy in.
Yeah.
And that is the long and the short of it, Marius. I've said everything that I think that I needed to say. Unless you've got questions, that's the whole story.
Ja,
really.
nee Simon, ek dink jy het dit baie mooi opgesom. Natuurlik elke ou wat 2 breinselle tussen hom het, gaan ook dan weet wat is die knock-on effek van as die petrol en die diesel en die gas ewe skielik so hoog raak met ons voedselsekerheid in die land. Ek bedoel die vragmotors en die dinge gaan nie die kos net kan vat na jou supermark toe nie en dit gaan astronomies duur werk want alles in ons land word vervoer met vragmotor op hierdie oomblik. Bitter min word met trein gedoen. So as die vragmotors ewe skielik R400 'n liter diesel moet betaal, wat dink jy gaan met die kospryse gebeur? Sassa gaan nie genoeg wees eers om 'n brood te koop nie. So ja, ek dink jy het dit regtig baie goed opgesom en ek sien uit daarna om dan oormôre aand weer met jou verder hierin te duik en nog daaroor te gesels.
Yes, Marius, I'm not going to speak at any length. I'm going to say goodbye after I've just made the one following point. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have the means, buy fuel now.
Yeah.
You will never regret it, and it will always be used. You're not going to complain in years and months to come that you bought fuel and it's sitting in your garage. If you don't use it in a crisis, you'll use it in the normal course of events. Later on this month, or next month, or the following month. But it seems as if the time to buy fuel is immediately.
Yeah.
At the risk of causing panic and hysteria and so on, I'm not saying immediately because I think immediately. I'm saying immediately because the best sources in the world today, all over social media, are talking about an imminent attack on Iran.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I'm sitting in an underground bunker in Israel and we're going to attack Iran within 36 hours or 48 hours or 72 hours or a week or 10 days. They are saying that the word that is coming out is that it is imminent. So on the basis of what the experts are saying, if you have the means, buy fuel now, you will never regret it. And that's all from me. Thank you very much, Marius, and I look forward to seeing you on Thursday.
Ja, baie dankie Simon. Ek weet jy het deur 'n hele paar hoeps gespring om vanaand met my te kan praat. En dan gesels ons donderdag aand. Ek hoop jy het 'n geseënde en 'n lekker aand en ook dan so môre tot wanneer ons oormôre weer met mekaar gesels.
Dankie en bye-bye.
Cheerio,
Marius.
Bye-bye.